them to the next board meeting. Okay. Call to order the 3048th Mundelein Village Board meeting. Today is March 11th, 2013, 7 p.m. Let's do roll call, please.
Lenz.
Here.
Meyer. Here. Nutschneck.
Here.
Semple.
Here.
Sullivan.
Here.
Voss. Here.
Everybody join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Tonight, we're not about to approve the minutes for tonight. We're going to defer that till the next board meeting. There was a glitch and we just didn't get the proper information to some of the folks, but we'll take care of that. And the next board meeting, we'll look at the minutes from this board meeting and pass them then. At this time, we'll go to public commentary. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to make a comment? Please come forward, please. Mention your name. Step up to the microphone right here.
Name and address, please.
Name and address, please. I'm sorry.
We'll do our best. My name's Paul Papanaugh. I live at 446 Killarney Pass Circle. On the 21st of February, the village administrator hosted a very informative meeting to explain the merits of putting curbs and gutters on Loch Lomond streets. I've recently learned that a report of the meeting has been issued to the board. I haven't seen it, but I've been told that it says that 60 people attended. Kathy Knudsen reported to me that there were 135 in attendance. I've also been told, and I haven't seen the report, that it states that most residents are in favor of curbs and gutters. If that's what the report states, it's abjectly wrong. I was there for the raising of the hands, and most people were against the proposal. Subsequent to the meeting, I have the following concerns. Curbs and gutters will add pollution to our lake. They'll increase the risk of accidents to our children and other pedestrians. They'll increase the amount of traffic through our streets. They'll reduce the amount of parking available to residents. The village proposed that curbs and gutters will make repairs in the future easier because only the asphalt will need to be replaced, not the border. I disagree because recent history shows that our streets go so long between repair that curbs and gutters require replacement also. Prairie would be an example. The village also the village was also concerned that curbs were more robust than concrete ribbons. I have no doubt that our village engineers are smart enough to design a concrete ribbon every bit as robust and that can be anchored as securely as a curb. I'm an engineer. I know what it's like. We have our tables, our charts, and our procedures. In this case, I think we're too locked in on the charts and tables and too reliant on a consultant who has more interest in curbs than ecology. In addition, residents who walk and jog were concerned that people parking at the 3-inch mountable curbs proposed would make the street too narrow. Residents with children were concerned that eliminating the flat border of the road would make the road unsafe for children and pedestrians. Children would have to walk in the road and would not be able to get their bikes off the street because of the curbs. Walkers and joggers would have to walk in the street because there is no shoulder. The village replied that the 3-inch mountable curbs would make little difference because it would allow people to park on the grass. I disagree because it's just natural to park at the curb, not drive over it. Jim Nelson is a Loch Lomond resident who lives on Braemar behind Lincoln School. Braemar has mountable curbs. Jim says that he has never, ever seen anyone park over the curb on the grass. In addition, Mundelein Village Ordinance prohibits parking over the curb. 10.32.080 parking motor vehicles on private property. It is unlawful for any person to park or for any tenant or property owner to allow to be parked any motor vehicle on the grass or on any other portion of zoning lot other than that approved by off-street parking. And there's fines associated with it. The administrator stated that additional pollution added to the lake from the curbs and gutters would be small compared to the amount of pollution already in the lake. He cited a 2005 report from the Lake Management Unit. We on the Lake Management Committee are and have been very familiar with that report. The report shows that our lake has one major pollutant, phosphorus. Phosphorus provides the nutrient needed by algae that causes the algae blooms that have plagued our lake. 4 years ago, our lake was overrun by exotic weeds. You couldn't do anything in the lake. It was all plants. During the infestation, there were no algae blooms, and the lake was clear down to 10 feet. We learned from this that with the proper level of aquatic plant life, we could capture the pollutant. This is significant because Appendix D of the report, the same report, lists several lake management options to greatly reduce the algae blooms due to excess phosphorus. One of them is to revegetate the lake. We learned from the period when the lake was all plants that with proper revegetation with native plants, we can control the phosphorus. Subsequently, we have implemented an aggressive program to revegetate the lake. The report also recommended treatment with algicide. We do this. Labeling storm drains. We've done that. Plant rain gardens. We have done this and are continuing to do this, and recently the village gave us an award for doing this. They recommended getting local stores to carry zero-phosphate fertilizer and encourage the homeowners to use it. We do that on a continuing basis. We are also making other efforts to improve the lake, and I won't bore you with all of that. It is my position that since we now know how to control the major pollutant phosphorus and are taking steps to do so, the village should not counter our efforts by introducing pollution, no matter how small, when we are taking steps and spending money to counter it. The village, Jennifer, you want to give them the handouts? The village stated that an input from Bull Creek Bulls Brook Watershed Council wasn't required because our village has a permit to manage stormwater. Subsequently, I talked to Chris Callis of the EPA. He said the village can do anything it wants, but if it does anything that adds pollution, it could be cited. The first sheet you have is a section of our permit. It says post-construction stormwater management in new development and redevelopment. The permittee must develop, implement, and enforce a program to address and minimize stormwater runoff. Reduce the discharge of pollutants to the maximum extent possible. It must develop and implement strategies which include a combination of structural and or non-structural BMP. Those are best management practices. That will reduce the discharge of pollution, the volume and velocity of stormwater to the maximum extent practical. The permittee should adopt one or more of the following strategies: preservation of existing channels and drainage ways, minimization of new impervious surfaces, that would be gutters and conveyance of stormwater in open vegetated channels, that would be our swales. The next sheet you have is from the EPA, their National Pollution Discharge Elimination System. The village stated that our existing swales are not effective in reducing pollution because a greater density of vegetation is needed. I checked out the best management practices recommended by the permit regarding curbs and gutters and swales. These handouts are reprints of the EPA's recommendations by our permit relevant to the issue of curbs and gutters. As you can see, the grass swales recommended by the BMP are those already existing in Loch Lomond. That picture that you have could be my front yard. The next handout you can see is the BMPs encourage the removal of curbs and gutters rather than their installation. It states, removal of curbs and gutters decreases the peak flow discharge of receiving waters. Furthermore, under proper design conditions, grass swales can be effective in removing pollutants from urban stormwater. The BMP also discusses cost. Engineered swales are much less expensive option for stormwater conveyance than curb and gutter systems they replace. Curbs and gutters and the associated underground stormwaters have been documented to cost as much as $36 per lineal foot, which is roughly twice the cost of a grass swale. The next one, if I can get my page to turn, is about narrower streets. We're talking about increasing a street from 24 to 28 feet. Finally, the EPA recommends narrower streets, streets 22 to 26 feet wide, because it minimizes the collection of pollutants and reduces the load on the stormwater system. Cost considerations. Narrower streets cost less to build, even if they're asphalt and not concrete. The cost of paving a road averages $15 per square yard. Shaving a mere 4 feet off the existing street can yield savings of more than $35,000 per lineal mile. In summary, curbs and gutters of any height and type will pollute our lake, increasing the risk of accidents to children and pedestrians, might violate our stormwater permit, and will reduce parking. In exchange for the curbs and gutters, the village is offering a cost savings 20 to 30 years from now. At the time when the village is becoming a better custodian of our environment, we have recently done the light bulb change out. We've changed the trash removal contract to encourage more recycling. It is difficult to think that we would go in the opposite direction by adding pollution to our lake. We are not trying to create the Dead Sea here. We are trying to clean up the lake, and you should not be working against us. I would ask that the village return to RHMG study's recommendation of 24-foot road widths for heavily traveled streets, 21-foot road widths for remaining streets, replace the existing gravel shoulders with mountable curbs only where needed to transition grades along turning radii and to contain drainage. Use ribbon curbing through the remainder of the subdivision. And finally, I would ask that the village establish a mechanism for residents of Loch Lomond to see the final plan for each phase before it's approved. It almost seems like we have to sneak in here to find out what's going on. That's it. Any questions for me?
Thanks very much, Paul. Any other comments or concerns?
Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fritz Chesick, and I live at 277 Banbury Road in Loch Lomond. A decade or so ago, when my wife and I were looking for a place that felt more casual than the city and suburban life we had become accustomed to, we happened on Loch Lomond. What attracted us to this neighborhood was, of course, the quiet and serene lake, the beautiful old oaks, the streets that casually rolled through and around the lake, and the friendliness of its residents. We bought and stayed. The longer we lived here, the more we were captivated by the uniqueness of this place we now called home. But Loch Lomond is not without its problems, some historical and some more recent. As you have already heard, many of my neighbors oppose curbs and gutters for a number of reasons, but I'm here to speak about the health of the lake. Our lake is already considered damaged, and over the years the damage is evidenced through algae blooms, increased sedimentation, phosphorus loading, and an increase in chlorides. In 2004 and 2005, as Paul already mentioned, some like-minded residents embarked on a self-education and action plan to see what we could do to leave this beautiful lake and neighborhood a little better off than how we found it. We read this report by the Lake County Health Department Environmental Health Services Lakes Management Unit that details some of the damage already done to our lake and began to seek out information and agencies that might help us with some short-term and long-term coordinated efforts that could mitigate the damage. We also began educating ourselves on best practice strategies for doing so. To this end, I was asked to participate in the Bull Creek Bullbrooks Watershed Council meetings. Over the next 7 years, this council developed a watershed plan that inspired many of our initiatives. Perhaps the most noteworthy being our education efforts. 1, an annual education and celebration fair called Lochfest. 2, lake drainage sewer labels. 3, demonstration native plant buffer strips. 4, a long-term proposal for the reintroduction of native plants to shorelines that had been denuded. And 5, demonstration native plant rain gardens, for which we have also received grant funding. As good neighbors up and down river in the watershed, we strive to minimize any additional pollutants to our own lake and those waterways we flow into. It is my opinion that the watershed plan and other best practice advocates concur that when street runoff is directly connected to a curb gutter and stormwater system, pollutants that concentrate on roadways from yards, driveways, and the streets themselves are collected in the street gutter and then flushed into the stormwater, which transports it directly to the lake without any benefit of filtration or volume reduction. A good street design addresses the impacts of stormwater runoff and pollutants by reducing the total volume of runoff through narrower street widths with no curbs and gutters, driveway runnels or drain trenches to capture the runoff from the driveway and divert it to an adjacent lawn, rain garden, or swale so that it does not reach the street. Increasing street width, adding curbs and gutters, building a sidewalk to circle the lake adds only more stormwater volume and pollutants that would considerably damage the lake. In addition, residents view the addition of the sidewalk around the lake as permanently damaging and killing many of our more mature oaks and other species trees. As the plans now stand, the result to our community would be devastating. The aesthetic and real cost to the value of our homes would never be recovered. As with most of our neighbors, we were excited about the badly needed road repair projects and viewed this long-term proposal carefully. We thank the trustees for this continuing dialogue, but have expressed our concerns that decisions are being made that deviate from the plan or assurances that plan impacts would be minimal. Widening streets, adding a sidewalk around the lake, imposing curbs and gutters where none existed before is bad for the lake and bad for our community. The monetary and aesthetic values of our homes in Loch Lomond are directly related to the health of our lake and the tree-lined streets that surround it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Fritz. Any? All right, that's Jim, I believe. Yes, just introduce yourself, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Jim Kupek, and I live at 458 Clarny Pass Circle in the continuing saga of Loch Lomond. We appreciate very much the information session we had, but a number of us were fairly disturbed that there were a number of people at the session who said they never heard anything, didn't have any survey, didn't know what was going on. So 4 of us Loch Lomond residents, most who are all here tonight, undertook a small survey of the Dunbar-Dunleer Dairy Triangle, which is phase 1, and we went door to door visiting every home. First of all, making sure they knew that there was improvements coming, that it was starting soon, and then going over some of the features. Specifically, we talked about curbs and pollution, and we took a poll of that. And to be honest, there were about 10% we didn't get because they weren't home, but of the people that were home, 68, almost 69% were solidly against increased gutters anywhere and increased pollution. 25%, numbers don't quite add, were undecided. They're still looking for information. And only a little less than 7% were for gutters, and then, curbs rather, and only then if they could have the 1.5, because there was some experience of that in the Sylvan Lake area. So in our kind of informal but relevant survey that we took a week ago, the residents of the phase 1 area of Loch Lomond were very much against what has been proposed, and I wanted you to have that information, particularly in this election cycle. So thank you very much. We can make copies. This was just a summary for me, but I do have copies of the results.
And I'd like to really see what exactly questions you asked them.
Sure, sure, understand.
Email it to us.
Yes, yes.
I so much appreciate that you took the time
We'll do that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jim. Anyone else with a comment? If not, we could have Diane come on up, or no? One more? Okay. All right, just your name and address, please.
My name is Harold Hanson. I live at 571 Banbury Road. My wife and I moved here 5 years ago, particularly because of the lake and the whole community of Loch Lomond. I only want to say that I support the remarks made by Mr. Pompano, Mr. Chesick, and Mr. Kupek.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Harold. Any other? Yes, Diane can step right up and give us your name, please, and your address.
Oops, sorry. I'm Diana O'Kelly. I'm the Lake County Board Representative for the district, of which Mundelein resides in. I wanted just to make sure that you're all aware that the county has gone out for another listening session. Basically, it's every 5 years we go out to the public. We have these hearings where the public comes in and talks to us about what's on their mind and how they think we should be utilizing our resources on transportation, economic development, sustainability, public safety, etc. The final meeting is very close. It's on Wednesday evening at Lakewood Forest Preserve at the Discovery Museum. So if any of you are available or any of the viewing public, I don't know if this is live or not or when this views, or any of the residents that are in the audience, if they'd like to attend. Mel, I expect to see you there. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that. Wednesday evening at 6 to 7 is an open house, and then 7 o'clock is the community forum. Okay. The other thing I did want to assure you is that the funding is in place for the Holly Road improvement. We're working with the village, as you're aware, on just getting the final land acquisition. As soon as you have that, the funding's in a pot and ready for you, so we can move forward with that project. So thank you very much.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Diane.
Diane, are you talking Wednesday the 13th this week?
Yes, Wednesday the 13th.
Very good. Well, thanks very much. I'm sure a lot of us would like to attend that. Anybody else would like to come up and speak with us or give us a comment or two? All right. I don't see anyone else, so we'll go on to our next stop here. It's the presentation. What?
Did we approve our minutes?
We did not tonight, no. We're going to next week.
We have them?
No, we had a hiccup. Half the board got them, the other half didn't. So we'll do those next time.
I beg your pardon. Thank you.
Very good. Now, next we have a presentation of awards. Now, very good. Well, we have one award that we'll just wait for maybe another 20 or 30 minutes before we get to that one. But tonight we have an award to a new sergeant on our police force, Paul Dempsey. Would you like to come right up? And Chief, would you like to step right in and give us an award? Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to take the opportunity. I think it's important that the board is introduced and is able to put a name with a face to our newest command staff member, which is Paul Dempsey. Paul, I think, has a lot of family members here tonight, so Paul, tell us who you brought with you.
My mom with the balloons, my wife Erin, my son Alec, my daughter Kylie, I have my aunt and uncles, my godparents, Jim, Denise, Donna, Linda, and obviously my patrol staff that I work with in second shift. So just a little history about Paul is Paul was promoted to sergeant on February 4th. Paul has been with the police department since 1996 and was promoted into the position of investigator in 2002, at which time he was also placed into the major crimes investigations team, which is responsible for homicide investigations, officer-involved shootings, and in-custody deaths. He served on that team for 10 years? 8 years. 8 years, and also served in the capacity as a supervisor on that team. Paul is very well trained and has a
a very vast knowledge in law enforcement. So if you just join me in welcoming him to our team. So thank you, Paul.
Great, congratulations.
And that's it.
Again, I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity. Like Chief Gunther said, I've been here for just under 17 years, and I'm looking forward to the future, and thank you for the opportunity.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate it. Excellent. Very good. Well, thank you very much, Paul, and congratulations. And I'm sure you'll do a fine job for the rest of your term here with us in Mundelein. Thank you again. Sure. Now, if you folks want to stick around and listen to the rest of the board meeting, you're more than welcome to. But if you have other things to do, by all means, this is your chance to get away. Next, we do not have any public hearings at this time, so we'll go on to the mayor's report. We are looking for a couple of trustees to take on the Hickory Woods negotiating team. It's Exhibit 3 in our packets, and let me see here. It's very similar to... What project was that, John, that we had before? That was... Yes. Very much like Tallgrass subdivision. So if anyone who has been involved with Tallgrass maybe are very familiar in how that stepped forward. Oh, Miss Voss. Very good. And anyone else maybe that would like to help us out here? Maybe...
With you, yes.
So, all right, is that okay with everybody? Okay, very good.
I should have been
Mr. Sullivan?
Yeah.
Ms. Voss, very good. So we have our 2 volunteers. So well, thank you very much for your time, ahead of time. Let's see here. Now we're going to have a Village Hall design build contract amendment. It's Exhibit 4 in our packets. I'm going to ask, I need a motion to adopt the resolution providing for the second amendment to the Village Hall Design Build contract by and between the Village of Mundelein and Weston Solutions, Inc., formerly Sigma Site.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. First and second. Very good.
Yes.
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 Yes. Right. Well, now the next thing we're going to do is move on to trustee reports. Next would be Public Works. Trustee Meyer.
Thank you. Tonight we have sale of surplus property, blower motor assembly, which is Exhibit Public Works -1. And this was due to the replacement of the blower at the wastewater reclamation facility. One blower replaced 3 of them that we currently had, and 2 of them are going to be held back for emergency use in case we need them, and the 3rd one we'd like to sell and have found a bid that is acceptable to us. So, I would like to make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus village equipment.
Second.
Yes.
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 And that would be all I have for tonight.
Very good. Thank you very much, Trustee Meyer. Next, Finance Committee, Trustee Sullivan.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, Finance Committee I'd like to announce our first budget meeting. This would be at 6 p.m. on April 8th. Begin our discussions for our fiscal year ending 2014 budget. And hope everybody can make it. Is anybody has a conflict at that time and date? That's good. Okay. We have a motion this evening to consider. One, to approve the payment of bills to AT&T, invoices totaling $14,336.89. I believe we will have an abstention, and I will make the motion.
Second.
Yes.
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 Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
This evening on our omnibus list of motions, we have one to approve the payment of our bills. These total $988,494.90. One of the major amounts is one to pay the Joint Action Water Agency for Lake Michigan Water, approximately $166,000. It's been a while since we had given you a report on our financial condition, and as of the end of the month of February, the total in all funds, other than our pension funds, is $47,368,720. This compares to the beginning of the fiscal year, wherein our balances were $42,019,385. Before you get excited about that $5 million increase in value, I want to remind you that we received $5 million from the state of Illinois for road work at 176 and 6083, which we have encumbered for that purpose. So in effect, we're staying above water. Unless anyone has a question in regard to the bill list or other matters of finance, that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Trustee Sullivan, how many finance meetings do you anticipate having for this year's budget?
I believe this would be three meetings, which we may extend that if necessary, but generally we deal with operations and then capital and then a recoup of everything in a third meeting.
Trustee Sullivan, I already know April 22nd, I will not be available that meeting night. So just right up front, the 22nd, I'm not available. I have a business conflict.
Okay. That would be the 2nd?
22nd of April.
I'm not sure what the schedule is for.
I'm just saying, letting you know
Right.
that is a known conflict that I have.
Make note of that, April 22nd. Anyone else have a conflict on a Monday? Very good. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you very much, Trustee Sullivan. At this time, we, at 7:30, we had kind of scheduled a Liquor Control Commission meeting. So at this time, I'm going to need a motion to recess the board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion at all? Because if not, we'll just take roll.
Yes.
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 Very good. Very good. Meeting is adjourned. Or, I'm sorry, recessed. Recessed. I'm sorry. And now we're going to open the liquor control meeting. So we should take attendance for that.
Lenz,
Here.
Meyer,
Here.
Nutmeg,
Here.
Semple,
Here.
Sullivan, Voss.
Here.
Very good. Now, the first thing on the agenda tonight for the Liquor Control Commission would be to approve the January 14th, 2013 minutes of the last Liquor Control Commission meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Voss,
Yes.
Sullivan,
Yes.
Lentz.
Yes.
Meyer.
Yes.
Nutchnut.
Yes.
Semple.
Yes.
Very good. Now, we have the first hearing tonight. It's a citation for Jay's Liquors Incorporated. It's Exhibit 2 in your packets. Do we, Mr. Laluzerne, and is the...
I would indicate to the commission this evening that we do have two proposed agreed orders to resolve these two violations.
Oh, we do? Okay, good.
We do. The attorney for Jay's Liquor has just arrived just prior to the hearing commencing. So he's talking to his clients now to get them to sign the agreed order. So if we could deal with the second issue, which is the DoubleTree.
Okay.
I have Mr. Baker here from DoubleTree, and we have an agreed order on that. And this would be in the matter of David M. Friedman, President, and Michael J. Baker, manager of the Williamsburg Hotel Corporation, DBA DoubleTree Hotel, Libertyville, Mundelein, 501 East Route 83 in Mundelein. This proposed order stems from an allegation of a violation of sale of alcohol to a minor on February 25th, 2013 at the DoubleTree Hotel. Mr. Baker, if you'd approach here. Mr. Baker is the manager of the hotel, and he and I have reached an agreement, subject to the commissioner's approval, for a fine of $500 and no suspension of the license, the fine to be paid within 24 hours. This is the first violation for DoubleTree. This was done pursuant to a compliance check by the police department, in which officers went in there with underage individuals, and they were served alcohol at the bar portion of the restaurant. And I told Mr. Baker he would have an opportunity to make any presentation to the commission as far as their actions that they've taken subsequent to this compliance.
Very good. By all means.
Yes. Thank you for allowing me to say a couple words. We have a policy at the hotel, obviously, of not serving minors, and the policy reads, "It is a policy of the DoubleTree Hotel that all guests and patrons requesting service of alcoholic beverages are asked for a valid form of ID if they appear to be under the age of 35. The ID should verify that the guest is 21 years of age or older and must be confirmed prior to the service of any alcoholic beverage. As an employee of the DoubleTree Hotel, I understand that I must check identification on all guests requesting alcoholic beverages who appear to be under the age of 35. Furthermore, I understand that the service of alcoholic beverages to a minor will result in disciplinary action up to including termination." So unfortunately, the individual that did serve the minor that evening did sign this policy, and her employment at the property was terminated as a result of doing so. So we have an existing policy for all employees that work in the restaurant and bar that they sign this policy. Upon starting, in addition, they do take the Bassett certification as required, and all employees have that certification on hand. Thank you.
Very good. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Baker.
Thank you.
Are there any questions by any of the commissioners on this proposed order?
Any other trustees may have a comment or two or a question? Nope. Very good. Well,
If I can
very good.
approach, I have the proposed order.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Semple.
Yes.
Yes.
Nutchnut.
Yes.
Sullivan.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. All right, motion carries, and we have taken care of both issues, right,
No.
Mr. or no?
Well, we've just deferred on the.
Oh, that's
Jay's
right, we
Liquor
deferred.
violation. I'm
Are we
waiting
ready
for
yet with the other one yet?
Yeah, I'm just waiting for the attorney to return with the signed order, so
All right.
if, and maybe, let me just step out and see if they're signed that, or maybe just ask the commission for just a brief recess for a few minutes here, while I go talk to them, see if they've got that ready.
All right. He did know it was 7:30 meeting, though.
Yes.
Okay.
I was literally talking to him right before I walked in here, so he's aware of that, and he's just talking to his clients.
All right, well, tell him to come on in and join the party.
This is the matter of Kwang Suk Yi, President, Kwang Jun Kim, Manager, Jay's Liquor, Inc., 700 South Lake Street, Mundelein, Illinois. These arises from a compliance check for a violation which is alleged to have occurred on February 25th of this year, in which a individual under the age of 21 years of age went into Jay's Liquor and purchased alcohol, and he being not of the legal age, there was a violation, and the cashier was arrested. We have a proposed resolution. Mr. Caravello, Michael Caravello, is here on behalf of the license holder, and we have a proposed order in which the licensee would be admitting to the violation. There'd be a $1,000 fine plus court cost to be, a $1,000 fine to be paid within 24 hours at the Village Customer Service Department. You may remember that the license holder was here last month, and I know that the Commission had some very strong concerns at that time regarding the violation, and this proposed order is in keeping with second violators that we've had in the past. And I indicated to Mr. Caravello that he would be able to have opportunity to explain to the Commission the circumstances and the steps they've taken to ensure this doesn't happen again.
Good evening. My name is Michael Caravello. I'm with the law offices of DeAmbring Caravello. And what Mr. LaLuzerne said is exactly correct. First of all, thank you for giving us this opportunity. My client, on behalf of Mrs. Yi, wants to express her remorse and apologize for what occurred. This is an incident involving her son. She's since terminated her son. He's no longer working for her. And in terms of what exactly happened at the store, he was given a license. Her son was given a license, and he was not feeling well. And he looked at the license, and the license had a date on it of November of '92. And he looked at it and looked at it quickly, and he indicated that he thought it was January, not November. And so therefore, this occurred in February, and the individual that he sold alcohol to would have been over 21. So he was sick. He did misread the license. We are sorry. We are grateful to be given an opportunity to enter into this agreement. My understanding it has been approved by the administration. I had a brief conversation with Mr. LaLuzerne, and those are the facts that we've got.
All right. Does he understand this? Kwang Jun Kim, is he going to be still part of the business and still being at that register from this point on?
Daniel? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. No, he's been terminated.
Okay. Because this is the second violation in like 2 months here. I mean, this is.
I understand.
Okay. All right. Any other concerns or questions by any other trustee?
I want to reiterate, like the Mayor Pro Tem, what was the date of the last violation?
I believe it was December of 2012.
I have January. So.
January?
And what is the date of this one here?
I think it was
December of 2012. We were here, I think, in January for the hearing.
So the violation was in December.
Correct.
And this one was when?
February 25th, was it?
So, based upon your current trend, are we going to expect to see you back here again in May?
No.
And she fired her son.
She did.
Is that a temporary action, or is he fired forever? Is your son?
That's it.
I know he had a bad day and wasn't feeling well when he read the license improperly. I'd have a real bad day if you sold my minor kid alcohol, and I believe the previous violation was for 16-year-olds. I'd have a real bad day if I was the parent that you're selling to. I think we chastised you pretty well 2 months ago. When is it enough?
It's enough now. I mean, she understands.
We're not going to do this again in May or June or in 2014? Because I would hope one more of these, that's it.
We understand that.
I mean, you saw what we did with Doubletree. We understand mistakes are made. It happens. But there's a trend here, and it's a bad trend within within 1 quarter of a year. So I apologize. I'm done.
Oh, no apology necessary.
Actually, could you just tell me, how long have you owned this business? 6 years. Well, it's better than I thought. I thought maybe you'd only owned it a couple of months. I have to say that I agree with Trustee Semple. I think if you come back before us again, you're looking at probably losing your license.
Then you lose your liquor license if this happens again. Okay.
Okay?
So you understand totally where we're coming from here. You understand exactly how we feel. Yeah. Just so you understand that. I want to make that perfectly clear. Okay? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming. Just so you hope you've learned something here tonight.
You need a motion to...
We'll need a motion to...
I'll make that motion to accept this agreement.
Second?
Second?
Discussion. Voss?
Yes.
Semple?
Yes.
Lentz?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Nutchnag?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
All right. Well, very good.
Thank you very much.
All right. Just, yeah, to conclude.
Oh, I'm sorry. Semple?
Yes.
Lentz?
Yes.
Nutchnag?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Very good. Now we'll need a motion to reconvene the board meeting.
So moved.
Second?
We already did that one. Yeah.
Voss?
Yes.
Sullivan?
Yes.
Lentz?
Yes.
Meyer?
Yes.
Nutchnag?
Yes.
Semple?
You're here.
No, that was...
Okay, for here. Okay.
I'll take attendance. Lentz?
Here?
Here.
Here.
Semple?
Here.
Sullivan?
Here.
Here.
Very good. Now, if you just bear with me, I just got to sign my name twice here, and we'll be on our way with the next portion of the meeting here.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're going to not go on with the public safety meeting, but we have a very special guest with us here tonight. Matter of fact, from our high school right here in Mundelein. The young man's name is Connor Black. Connor, are you here tonight? There you are. Can you stand up, please? Well, this young man here has set probably every record there is in Mundelein as far as swimming goes. Probably broken most records in the state of Illinois. And he's actually broken a record nationally also, which is quite quite an accomplishment for anyone to do. Anyone who can tie, what's the last man who did the Olympics, what was his name, the great swimmer? Michael Phelps? Didn't he just tie his record? I thought so. That doesn't happen every day. That's once in a lifetime opportunity right there. But we do have a little mayoral proclamation. We want to mention this to you, and come on up here for a second. I appreciate your, come up right to the front. Whereas Mundelein High School senior Connor Black won 2 state swimming championship medals at the 2013 state IHSA state swimming meet on February 22nd, 20 and 23rd of 2013 in Winnetka, Illinois. Whereas at the state championships, Connor won the 50-meter freestyle event, setting an Illinois record of 19.80 seconds, and has won the 100-meter butterfly event, setting the national high school record of 46.71 seconds. And whereas Connor was selected to the United States of America's National Junior Swimming Team in September of 2012 and qualified for the 2012 Olympic trials in Omaha, Nebraska. Whereas Connor owns multiple school conference and pool swimming records, has been selected as the All-State and All-American High School athlete, and has a 4.0 GPA, and will continue his swimming career at Stanford University. Couldn't keep it state. Whereas the mayor and the village board are proud to honor Connor swimming accomplishments and wish to commend him for representing his school and the community with honor, integrity, and skill. Whereas the mayor and village board would like to extend a special thanks to his coaches, family, friends, and who have helped Connor achieve this success. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Connor Black to be commended for the outstanding achievement in the sport of swimming and as a student athlete, proclaimed, signed, sealed, and with the great seal of the village of Mundelein, Lake County, Illinois, on this 11th day of March 2013. Congratulations. There you go. Very good. Very good. Now, if you'd like to say a few words to us and say, you know, that's up to you, though. We're just, you know.
It's an honor. I'm really excited to receive this award, and I look forward to representing Mundelein in my swimming career in the future.
Very good. Well, we're honored to have you. Very good. It's not often that we have someone who can get to those levels of anything, we'll put it that way. So, thank you again, Connor, and good luck to you. And Mr. and Mrs. Black must be very proud. Very good. Now, the next will be our Public Safety Committee. Mr. Semple.
Chief Gunther, anything for police this evening?
Just note that on March 18th, we have a free Bassett class for all liquor license holders, and it's already got 35 participants in the class. So.
Terrific, thank you. And Chief Sashko, regarding the fire department, everybody in the past few weeks has received a couple of reports. There were articles in one of the Daily Herald newspapers on Sundays regarding fire departments and what some of the neighboring fire departments have been doing in the way of staffing and mutual aid. And I requested, being proactive, that Chief Sashko prepare a very brief summary of how Mundelein fits in and what we're doing with the comparisons of the communities written about in the articles. And if you receive the not so brief documents from Chief Sashko, I realized that a lot of these questions that we ask of staff are complicated, and it's tough to get to a quick answer. So with that, Chief Sashko is going to give a very brief summary of the two reports that he gave, just for the benefit of everybody.
Let's see, that's 40 pages of reports, brief. No, thank you. I think more importantly is just to identify with the fact the complexity of how we evaluate the services that we put on the street with fire and EMS daily. Probably one of the most untold stories, and as you saw in what was a brief review in the article the other day of 27 pages long of details with the standards, that was just the tip of the iceberg of a lot of the applied federal standards, the state standards that we have, and the agencies that control that. So I hope it was informative. I think that the two articles in the Daily Herald certainly are showcasing, the first article, what type of shared services, automatic aid and mutual aid that we've been fortunate to have for probably the last 35 years in the Northwest suburban setting, as well as the most recent article with the pressures that are on staffing and some of the creative measures that are taking place, but how that evaluation comes about. So I think it's, I hope that if there's any questions from the board members, I'll be certainly happy to sit down and meet with you, or, talk over the phone or whatever you would need to clarify any of that. And I'm certain this is probably not the last we'll see of that. We've been FOIA'd quite a bit over the last couple months with a lot of statistical references on call activity and those types of things from the Sun-Times. So I think there's more to follow with some of these types of articles.
Chief Sashko, anything else for fire?
The only other quickie thing is a reminder to the general public that we are now enjoying these longer days with daylight savings time over the weekend. So that reminder to change your clocks and change your batteries. I know everybody got their clocks because you were here on time tonight, so that's good. But changing your batteries, we remind everybody, even with the pre-wired smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors and those systems in the houses that are in the current code, you still have a battery backup in there. So make sure you go through that process and check them out. Critically important. We still suffer a lot of fires across the country every year where people don't even have them. The other thing that we do have is, as a public service announcement is, and we had this at the last meeting, is we do have some carbon monoxide detectors for those people that may need them, that can't afford them on their own, that were donated by North Shore Gas recently. That was also in the Herald. Just contact our department if you're in need of that, and we'll take care of that. Thank you.
Any questions from anybody for the two chiefs, or either of?
I just got a quick one. Chief, on these smoke alarms, does it matter if it's an old one or a new one, but when the battery is coming due for replacement, does it normally give a little warning of chirping?
Yeah, you will get the chirping sound out of them.
Right.
And the newer devices now that are coming on the market are actually going to have lifetime batteries in them. So they're expanding technology as we move forward with the different styles of detectors, and we're hoping that those will be out very soon. If not already, there may be some in the market already.
Sure. Great. Thanks.
That is all for public safety. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Semple. Next is community development. Trustee Voss.
Thank you. I have a couple of motions here, but first I just have an announcement. We have 3 new businesses. One is Dynarev Auto Repair, 1272 Town Lane Road, auto repair for Audi brand automobiles. We also have Pro Cell LLC at 75 East Division. They represent products and services, manufacturers of high-quality products and outdoor consumer goods, and Creative Solutions at 1051 East High Street, which is a business that creates kitchen designs and kitchen and bath and home office upgrades. So welcome those businesses to the community. The first thing is, as you all know, we redid the comp plan, we redid guidelines for downtown, the zoning ordinance, and as part of these steps to upgrade our ordinances, we now have a motion to upgrade our sign ordinance. So I will make a motion to approve a professional service agreement regarding a new sign ordinance with Camaros Ltd. in an amount not to exceed $28,335, and to authorize the village administrator's signature on the agreement as seen in your exhibit CD1.
Second.
I would like to
hear a little more about why we need to spend this money to write an ordinance. It just seems
It's
like
not
a lot of money.
an ordinance. It's a lot of ordinances regarding different types of signage. And if you go back and look at how old our ordinance was, it was done, I think, initially in the 70s. It doesn't take into account any of the electronic signs that are out there. It doesn't talk about really monument signs and outlets and all sorts of things. So kind of like the zoning ordinance wasn't just one ordinance, this is going to be a pretty large, comprehensive. And even though we did RFP this, we
RFQ'd it.
Okay, RFQ'd it. We are hiring the group that did the zoning ordinance so that they'll be really closely synced together.
Okay. So an estimated length of this document at the end.
The length of the document or how long it takes to get to the end?
Let's talk about, how about both?
Right? If, Mr. Barrera, you want to hop
Just
in?
a ballpark, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, what you're looking at is approximately 12 months to complete the assignment, anywhere to about 12 months to complete the assignment. The length of the document could be conservatively 40 pages. What we're looking to do is we're looking to rewrite, reevaluate, and possibly rewrite the entire sign code. We're looking at establishing design and sign criteria that's respective and indicative of the type of environment that we'd like to create. For example, you probably want a different set of sign standards for the area that you're trying to create around the downtown, and you want that to have different colors, design schemes, etc., than you would for a major commercial corridor. We want to avoid situations like we had earlier this evening, where you had a business owner seeking a request for a variation because the current ordinance did not accommodate for that type of business with that type of lineal square feet.
I assume this would include their attendance at least one committee of the whole meeting to solicit our input and to have dialogue about this?
As part of the contract, there are a series of workshops, there's a series of public input and also input from certain stakeholders, business owners. But yes, there are meetings as part of this contract and assignment.
Very good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes? It's me.
Thank you. I know that we've been through this to some extent before, but refresh me. Is this going to decrease the number of variances that are requested? I know anytime somebody wants to do something in the way of a major retail outlet, there's always a request for variance, 1 or 2 or 3 from the sign ordinance.
That would be the intent. The intent is to rewrite the code with a lot more graphics, a lot more illustration, be very user-friendly, be very reader-friendly for both those that are familiar with signage and for those that are not.
We see that we're going to increase the allowable square footage, the number of signs on a wall. For instance, the apple that was going to go on the Garden Fresh store required 3 variances.
At this point, that is a possibility. We will work with Caminos to identify and give us a solution as to how to best go about that. It may be a combination of numbers and square footage of signs, but that's something that we will sort through throughout this process.
What problems are encountered with the present ordinance in regard to people seeking to create a sign? What problems do they have? What problems does staff? What problems do you have?
Well, one problem that we have, just as simple as it is right now, one problem was that we weren't able to issue a building permit to a business owner requesting a simple sign request. One, because the current regulations didn't allow for that, and so that would alleviate some of that. It would also allow some flexibility with business owners in the realms and in the area of temporary signs. We've oftentimes had questions about what is temporary, how much temporary, and the type of signs that may or may not be allowed on the property, and so it would allow for some flexibility there as well.
Trustee Sullivan, I know a lot of business owners have expressed concerns to me before on that they would like to improve the appearance of their signs, which some of them are very, very old, and have investigated and found that they really couldn't improve them the way that they really wanted to under the existing ordinances, and so they've left in place some very old, not to be desired signage.
I'm assuming these are non-conforming signs. Are we going to allow a non-conforming sign to be improved?
And that is correct. In most cases, the majority of them are non-conforming. In most instances, there are signs that just would never abide by today's current ordinance, and in some cases, there are businesses and establishments that have existing reader boards, and so there's a certain amount of improvement that trips up, and they unfortunately end up in a situation where they may lose their non-conformity. And so this complete rewrites would allow for an opportunity to discuss such matters as nonconformities and the desires of the board to deal with those certain nonconformities. But it is, through this rewrite, it is an opportunity to have an open dialogue about and provide staff with some direction regarding matters like nonconformities.
Okay. We have a motion and a second, right? Do you want to call that? Yes?
Yes.
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 Thank you. Thank you. The next item is zoning ordinance text amendments. The zoning ordinance is a very large document, and try as we did to go through it with a fine tooth, there are some Scribner's errors that we need to correct, as well as some things that we have found that are missing or things that we need to change. So, can I just ask, this is one motion to make all these changes, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, as you have seen in your packet, we're just cleaning up some verbiage here and making it easier. And I imagine that going forward, as we use the zoning ordinance, that we'll find others that we need to correct and change as well, which is very typical when you have such a large document like this. So I will make the motion to authorize staff to draft an ordinance granting text amendments to the zoning ordinance regarding. Do I have to read all these?
Well,
Thank you.
Trustee Voss, aren't we going to do A and B first?
Oh,
Because-
sorry, yep.
And because I had some comments about A and B, because they're minutes and finding of facts and planning and zoning, and they've included in A and B the Verizon wireless cell tower, and because it's all meshed in as one document, I'm going to have to abstain from both of those motions.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, it's not separated cleanly, and it's mixed where I would need to abstain from A and B.
Give me 1 second.
It's
Yes.
in the meeting minutes and findings of facts, and you can't call them out because the motions are all of them.
Okay, well, so I will make the motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commission meetings and findings of fact.
Second.
Yes.
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 Abstain?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and then I'm going to make a motion to can I just ask this? So this about the way that I read this, she's talking about for Verizon, because it's in there?
It's part of the meeting minutes, it's part of the finding and facts, there's some recommendations in there. It's mixed with the zoning ordinance, and because it's all one document, I have to abstain.
Okay, that's very good. But while I understand for our purposes, this is regarding the text amendment. So I will make a motion to accept the Planning and Zoning Commissioner's recommendation on February 20th.
Second.
Yes?
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, now I'll make a motion to authorize staff to draft an ordinance granting text amendments to the zoning ordinance as seen in this document for verbiage that we need to change.
Second.
Yes, on this one, because it is very specific to the zoning ordinance, I can vote on this one, but because there are driveway restrictions, which I've in the past had various issues with, I'm going to vote no on this one.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you very much.
Very good. Thank you very much, Trustee Voss. Next is the Permits Committee meeting. That's my meeting, and tonight we had a meeting about 6:45 with regarding a request from Garden Fresh Market regarding a sign variance at 400 Town Line Road. It was an increase of the sign by 52, I believe it was 52 square feet. But in doing so, we've got to do all three of the motions for the number of signs and the size of the signs, et cetera, et cetera. So at this time, I would make a motion to recommend approval of a variation to section 21170401A to allow an increase in combined sign area from 100 square feet to 492 square feet for Garden Fresh Market. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I did that wrong. Right, staff to prepare an ordinance. Okay, very good. Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Very good. And the second item tonight, a motion to allow staff to prepare an ordinance for approval of the variation to section 21.17040 to A to allow an increase in the maximum number of permanent signs from 2 to 5 for Garden Fresh Market. Yes.
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 And third but not least is I'll make a motion to recommend staff to write an ordinance to approve the variation to section 21.17040.2C to allow an increase in maximum number of wall signs from 1 to 2 on the south front side of the building for Garden Fresh Market. Yes.
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 Very good. And that is all I have for tonight. And next on our agenda is Trustee Lentz, Transportation and Infrastructure.
Thank you. There are no motions this evening for the Transportation Infrastructure Committee. I did want to address just one topic at the beginning with the speakers. They were good enough to share, and I wanted to share with the board one of the portions of the Loch Lomond Street project that we have made progress on in terms of coming up with a component that's very important that directly addresses what was discussed earlier. And that is just the issue of the pollution going into the lake. And so I spent quite a bit of time over the weekend walking around the neighborhood, talking to folks, and I could report to the board really, that the overwhelming response on this topic is, first of all, people are very happy that we're doing something there. That's the first thing I always heard, is that, thankfully, it's good that we're going. And, of course, you hear the second part is, well, it's too bad it's taking 14 years to get through the whole thing. And so, but we have to start somewhere, of course. The other thing we hear is that people really want us to get the most bang for the buck that we spend on the streets in Loch Lomond, and so they want value, and so they're not really married to one approach or the other. They just want to make sure that they're getting the best street for the dollars that we spend. But then the next thing, now if that's curbs and gutters and that makes it a more modern look, that seemed to be the favorable response I was getting, is that, hey, it would seem like more of a modern subdivision that would attract more buyers, and we would have then higher values, higher home prices. But then, right away, and this was consistent in my discussions, is the subject of lake pollution. And there's been a lot of talk, and I think a lot of information and wrong information in some cases. But there's this one issue, and that is when you have streets going into gutters, that water does go into a storm sewer that goes right into the lake, and it does beg the question, is that water worse than what is getting in there now? And so what we came up with was an answer, and it was addressed at the meeting that we had, that informational meeting called a Storm Scepter. StormScepter.com. You can go there and you can get a good education in these devices now that they have. And after discussing with the engineers and Mr. Lebedo, we agreed that we can commit to doing this with the curb and gutter approach. And what it is it's a large concrete cavern, I guess. 8 feet? I don't know how big it is. It's like 8 feet that you submerge under the ground that the water goes into, swirls around through this set of caverns inside, and it separates the sediment, from the floatable pollutants, the oils, the floating things, and then what comes out the other end in the inlet going into the lake is cleaner water than you had what went into it in the first place. The Storm Scepter system, and it's used all over the country. We've done it before in the village, in our downtown area, and I think that this thing really is the answer in terms of addressing the pollutant going in the lake. In fact, now, if the village is committing to doing this, and it is within the budget, we can make it work. Using the Storm Scepter systems with the curb and gutter, I think it can be, I think, comfortably argued that the water in the new streets with the curb and gutter, the water that hits the road that ends up in the lake, will be cleaner water than what we have now with the streets we have now, which hits the road, goes through the gravel, taking that sediment into the lake, along with the fertilizer with that extra water. At least the water that's hitting the road in the future would be one that is actually filtered, filtered before it hits the lake. And so I think that that's a great answer. I really do. And after researching it, and it would be a precedent-setting thing, that the more that we do around the lake, the more of these storm scepters we put in over time, then the water that the village is generating from the streets going in the lake will be cleaner, and it will contribute in a positive fashion.
Where do those go? Underneath the street, or are they in the right-of-way, or are they in people's yards?
No. They're in the inlet. Where the storm sewer comes going into the lake, then you have these scepters prior to where it goes into the inlet.
And how does that change the appearance of the lake? I mean, what do these things look like?
I would describe it as a storm inlet. The only thing you'll see is the lid on top, like you see any storm inlet or sanitation.
But they sound of considerable size.
They're not that big. They're not that big.
Do you have any information other than going out and Googling it that the staff can give us?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to go out and do my own internet research, but I'd like to see what the staff has to present on that system.
Do these structures look, I'm assuming they're a sort of a fancy catch basin?
Yes. Good description.
They have a number of chambers.
Oh, I understand that. My question is, where are they going, and what do they look like on the surface?
They're going off the right-of-way, in the right-of-way, but off the pavement.
Right.
Just as a catch basin.
In the ground.
Well, I understand in the ground.
You're not going to see them.
Whose ground?
The right-of-way. The village's ground. for most of these, and I would assume all of them, much like a catch basin will go. Anytime there's an inlet for stormwater, it goes into it's not just not a straight
I'm
line.
really familiar with stormwater
Right.
management.
Okay, then you know more than I do, maybe. But a catch basin is what this is.
All right, well, very good. Yes.
There's a lot of installation involved in that and a lot of disruption. And so that's why I'm really looking on how many of these are there going to be, where are they going to be, that type of information. To get it in the ground is a lot of disruption.
Well, we're going to be going down to the dirt all over the place there. There's going to be a lot going on.
There's a lot of disruption going to be going
Yeah. But yeah, now I think we can have a supplemental report on that, I would assume, if you want more on that. But
For this
no,
area,
there are several sizes, of course, and we would get the kind that would fit our purposes here. You can get really tiny ones for little parking lots. You can get real large ones of an industrial size.
Correct.
What was the site again?
Stormscepter.com. And this is what, I mean, at the informational meeting that was given out, and this was put on the table as something that we would look at seriously at doing in the context of curbs and gutters. And I think previously the speakers tonight spoke, and even though that this was put on the table, of course, these documents that were given to us kind of take to task, villages and municipalities that don't do this kind of thing and just have it going straight from street. And so I think this addresses it very well. So that's all I had.
Very good. I just have one. There'd be how many of these interceptors for this area that we're doing now? Just one?
I don't know if it's been fully designed yet. It's something that came out of the meeting with the Loch Lomond residents as a way to, there was concern about lake quality and what the impact would be from the runoff from the streets, and this is something that the engineers had discussed. We've seen it used before in developments around the community, so we're familiar with them. And so I don't know, though, if it's been fully designed yet. Yeah, right. I mean, it's one of many things, and I think what the Loch Lomond residents are doing is right up the right path. There's a big part of this is just education and doing other things in terms of improving the lake quality. And the challenge of this area is that, well, first of all, it was first designed in '57, but the tributary area to Loch Lomond is like 1,500 acres, and so there's a lot of tributary areas outside of just Loch Lomond subdivision that are kind of the source of the problem as well. And I think there's a lot that can be done in other areas as well that needs to be looked at as the board moves forward with improvements up in Loch Lomond. So, I mean, this isn't the answer to everything, but it's an improvement.
Very good. Any more comments or concerns by any trustee? If not, yes. Next is other reports. Are there any other reports? I guess not. We'll move on to the omnibus vote items coming up next. A through F, are there any items of which any trustee would like to remove at this time?
D and E.
D and E.
There's one of those B as in boy. May I have that one also?
You want B, right, Ed? Okay. All right. Let's do this alphabetically. Let's just. Oh, yeah, well, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, we need a motion to approve the remaining items on the omnibus agenda, please.
I'll make that motion. Second that motion.
Yes.
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 Okay, we'll do this in order. Then item B, and then we'll go on to
Item B,
D and
yes.
F.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a motion to approve the payment to the developer of Mundelein Crossings for the sales tax rebate amount. Principal and interest to be paid in this motion is $311,705.59. That is on our bill payment list and is the major bill to be paid. But I wanted to point out a couple of things and ask a question. And I'm sorry, I apologize ahead of time. Our finance director, he can get to me later if he needs to. But we are paying now about more than 90% interest on this note, and we're close to closing it out, which is good news. In regard to the statement under the bill, there was an amount deleted for a company or a business that evidently came to us from the Department of Revenue on the list, and then we asked the Department of Revenue to break out the dollar amounts of sales tax from the businesses in Mundelein Crossing, but there evidently was one on that statement that was not in Mundelein Crossing.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Is this the first time they've ever appeared on the statement?
No, they've been on for over a year, so it's first time.
Is this the total amount of correction?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have. Then I'll make the motion to approve this payment.
Second.
Yes.
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 Very good. Next, Trustee Meyer.
Yeah,
Item D.
On D, this is related to the ordinance amending on solicitor, peddler, and canvasser registration. And I realize it's related to registration, but every election year when there are political activities going on, like petition gatherings, signatures, and literature and door-to-door canvassing, is the canvassing in that ordinance related to political? How there really is no mention in the ordinance of political activities, and there are always lots of questions on what is and is not allowed. What does the sign on the door, who does that apply to in relation to political activities?
Well, all I was simply going to do was defer it to somebody else because I'm not 100% familiar. And I think generally the police department, and I was actually going to ask.
Simply.
Well, I know what tonight's for, but while it's up on the table, I wanted to find out clarification because I'm always asked those. I asked the front office once; they couldn't tell me. So, I mean, I know what tonight's about, but again, since it's here, I'm asking about the rest of it.
Trustee Meyer, just for clarification purposes, I don't know if this will help you. Section 2 under A says that the requirement that a permit or certificate of registration be obtained shall not apply to persons organizations which are charitable, community, or religious in nature, or which do not solicit contributions or orders for the sale of merchandise or services.
And I read that. However, it doesn't mention anything about political. People do feel that when they have a sign on their door that you shouldn't come to their door for political purposes, and there are also lots of questions. And so it doesn't specifically say anything about political. It may imply things, but it's not very clear.
Okay,
Yep.
and I think that we fall under community if we are acting in that manner, but, you know, certainly if you feel that you need more clarification.
I think we can get clarification and then just give a report to the board. That's a good question.
That'll work.
And we also then might want to take that clarification and provide that information to our front office, because they're the ones that typically get the questions. I know I asked them and really couldn't answer, and I didn't pursue it. I mean, it was just a casual question on, hey, gee, what exactly does this mean, and who does it really apply to in the political sense in that. So I think a lot of us could benefit by that.
Sure.
So I don't have any objection to the ordinance as proposed tonight. I just wanted to take the opportunity to bring up the other issues. So I'll make that motion to pass an ordinance amending ordinance number 93-514 related to solicitor, peddler, and canvasser registrations.
Second.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Item E.
Yes, item E just has ordinance numbers, but when you start reading it, it's related to the multifamily and the waste hauler and all of those contracts and the contract with Groot. And while I, again, fully support recycling, as stated in previous meetings, there are aspects of this contract that, and extending it without negotiating or renegotiating residential rates. So I'm going to stay consistent and vote no on this one. So if somebody else would like to make that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 Very good. Any other comments or concerns by any trustee? If not, we'll go to the village staff reports. Mr. Lebedo.
I have no report tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Mr. Marino. Very good. Well, thank you very much. My village clerk. Right. Very good. There's no need for executive session tonight, so I need a motion to adjourn the board meeting.
So moved.
All right. Need a second? Roll call, please. Somebody, yes, there was. Somebody was over here, too. Okay, we need a second.
Who seconded it?
I'll second.
Yeah, second. Thank you, Mr. Semple.
Yes.
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 Very good. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, have a nice evening, everybody.